Between 50 to 60% of adult women will have at least one urinary tract infection, or UTI, in their life. NHS data shows 52% of E. coli bacteria from UTIs are resistant to one antibiotic or more.
I had spent too long in a bleak dungeon, hiding away from the world. Springtime had arrived and the coast was clear for my release, and for fun and light to flood back in. "I'm ready for my comeback," I wrote in the text I'd been longing to send to my dance teacher. It was finally time to emerge from years of hibernation. Dance is my passion and sets my soul alight, but health issues and a series of urinary tract infections, or UTIs for short, following a course of steroids, had taken their toll and sent me into hermit mode. It was time to reignite my soul and emerge from the shadows. I called my boyfriend to share the news. I couldn't wait to get my mojo back, nor could he. But only hours later, the bacteria in my bladder had other plans. Another UTI had struck. But this infection was different, raw and raging, clawing at my insides. Nothing like I had ever felt before. Instead of my soul, my bladder was now on fire. It was torture. I desperately reached for another course of antibiotics to extinguish the flames, but this time the antibiotics didn't work. Devastation ensued, and there was nothing I could do. This infection was resistant to drugs. That UTI destroyed me and my bladder, and consequently any physical enjoyment in life and with my boyfriend. Intimacy, which used to be our greatest enjoyment, is now the dreaded trigger. After receiving multiple antibiotics for recurrent UTIs a few years ago, I recovered. But now, I live with an underlying UTI hibernating in my bladder, just waiting to reignite. A strict daily regime of drinking gallons of water and taking a supplement called D-mannose for days after intimacy is my only defense against a UTI attack. It's not always been this way. Intimacy used to be fun, spontaneous, and exciting, much like my dance classes and shows with my belly dance group. Both activities allowed me to express my true spirit and offered some respite from the rigid confines of my day job and traditional Indian family expectations. Intimacy, especially outside of marriage, brings shame and exclusion. Therefore, life with my boyfriend is kept hidden from my family, much like the resistant bacteria embedded in my bladder wall, deeply ingrained and trapping me in an endless cycle of reoccurring UTIs, resisting one antibiotic after another. The UTI feels like my torturer. Life and intimacy has become cold, dark, and stagnant. Fun and dance fully banished from my life. I didn't even know what antibiotic resistance was back then, but I do now. Gone are the days of freedom and flow, my zest for life. Dancing on stage and through life is a dim memory. I'm a shell of the girl I used to be. Shoulder shimmies replaced with stiffness, fluid hips filled with tension. As I tell this story, I'm fully consumed by the damage and devastation that remains. Yet there is no one I can tell. My dungeon of isolation is shrouded in shame and secrecy that my culture and society impose upon me. It might sound silly, but the constant fight to keep the UTI at bay makes me feel like I'm being punished for being intimate before marriage, like my ancestors and even parents would have been. Who knows? The hidden shame of UTIs is suffocating, but I know that by making this story, ironically, like my UTI, I am resilient and resistant too. Every single day, I actively fight the flames to prevent further devastation to my bladder and to my life. But I remain an eternal optimist, waiting for the day that I find the right antibiotic to release me from the depths of this torturous dungeon so that I can dance freely through life again.